My guest, Lee, lives far away from me, and I can't remember what his schedule is. So I missed the appointment, and I tried to reschedule because I don't have a way to get a hold of him. So we'll see if he comes and if he does, because I rescheduled it. I was hoping I did it far enough out from the original so that he'd see it. My fault. Sorry, Mike. Apologize. No excuses. I just struggle with staying on schedule with stuff. So I'll just wait and see if he comes to try to meet my rescheduled obligation with him. Let's see. I don't know if you're at work, Mike, and you see this and you hear this. I'm just waiting for you to see it, but I don't expect you to have to. I had a way to get a hold of you after I missed the appointment, so I can reschedule it again, or we can try to do it tomorrow. Sorry, I don't want it to sound like an excuse because it's not, because I scheduled a time with you, but I'm trying to get the foundation waterproofed and stuff too, and I just lost track of time. I need to have a schedule here on my. Oh, there you are. Hey guys. Yeah. Oh, good. No thanks. No thanks. What? You don't want to do it now, or you're on time or something, or what? Or did you find out that Ellen White has brainwashed me, and so I'm a satanic simp who wants you to think Satan died for your sins. Okay. Well, if anybody wants to join, here is the thing. I'm not sure. Maybe you weren't talking to me there with that comment. I'm not sure. There it is. I'm talking away. No one's there. The mic's off. I have my Bible and 2 pieces of paper. I have a feeling you're doing something I was thinking too, making a chart and then with a time increment on it, and then to show how it lines up or not. I think that'd be a cool idea. I wish I had a program for that. I wish I was better with computer programming, because then I actually think, because I think the 70 weeks have to be continuous. And I think it's actually okay to look back from Jesus' time to see if you do know a decree, if you know enough details about how they would have kept the time. If that's true and that is legitimate, that would be a good way to show if any of them can work and how they line up with the necessary textual information. And as far as I can tell, there's only one way that it works. And then you can discuss why or why not anything's wrong with that, I suppose. But hopefully you guys know what I'm talking. I'm talking about the 70 weeks there. I even when you mess with it and say it's a 360-day year, it still really doesn't work. It ignores too many of the things that it seems like the New Testament writers are affirming. So and I saw your comment on my other video that I made yesterday, Mike, and regarding the 1,000-year thing. Adventists I think one of the reasons they came up with the idea that the millennium isn't on Earth and that it's the 1,000 years with Satan stuck here. Is it's kind of like what happened with the whole principle of like, what, a day for a year, like with the prophets, lay on your side for so many days, or days, and then that represents a year. And then how, like, with Leviticus 26 or whatever, it's like for each day that you disobeyed me, then you're going to get a year of whatever, of being in captivity and stuff like that. The whole 7 times 70, and then 490 being 7 times 7 times 10 after 7 times 10. That's probably why there's the first. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I'm thinking there could be. Why did they break up I don't think the fact that it says there's 7 weeks and then 62 weeks, I don't think that opens the door to just say, oh, we can just spread them apart. Because the way Daniel's asking, he wants to know how long until, and so to say, oh, well, from an issuing of a decree of your captors or whatever, let's say, unto, that right there to me says it has to be continuous, like obviously. Like I think thinking otherwise is just a product of desperate attempts to like mess with the text, honestly. Like, that's almost like a dirty trick. If he's I mean, I know Daniel wasn't going to be alive, and it says that in the text when it was fulfilled, but still he's writing for like, for people down the road. Well, and the question is like, another interesting question I'd like to explore is like, what was he really asking for? And what was God telling him? Like, we look back, I think we got to be careful, like looking back on what it means. So we know it means for Jesus or whatever, but like, I'm sure Daniel was thinking, when can we get that temple back so we can worship you properly? And so I'm sure they were totally, we know they were totally confused, because it's clear that they were expecting this Messiah. Like, do you guys think that they presumed this Messiah in Daniel's 70 weeks was going to be the Messiah, like the seed of the woman? You think they had that idea? No faith in your apps. What's that? 3 gone wrong. No faith in your appointments. 3 gone wrong. Okay. That's fine. I'm still saved though, right? I guess I'll address maybe why I don't think it's inconsistent to say that 10 commandments are still valid, but not the feasts. Well, I tend to have more in agreement with people that want to keep the feasts. I have looked into why to make that decision, to think it through carefully. And I find that the feast keepers make the same excuses or complaints as the evangelicals do. And they both have a truth that they're saying. So I'm like, although it's confusing, it's like, that doesn't mean it's not right. It's not all or nothing. Obviously, everyone already agrees that not everything is applicable. And it seems like Hebrew roots has no real guiding, no real light as far as something that holds them together. Of course, you can say that about any group, but they're all over the place on eschatology. So it's hard to think, if I think it's the end times of this group, there's no real like to the law and to the prophets, they speak not according to this, or surely the Lord God does nothing unless he reveals it through his servants, the prophets. And I see a lot of people, which I'm not trying to disparage, but they end up like rejecting Paul. I want to be careful because it's not all of them necessarily, but they like that. But that is like the way it goes when you start thinking, oh, it's basically the same covenant. It is the same covenant. Okay, well then they must have. Maybe we will do animal sacrifices again. Heck, why? Well, if we're supposed to do what God wanted us to do, just because there's not a temple doesn't mean we can't still do animal sacrifices. And I know that's crazy and that's not everybody, but that way of thinking, like, seems like God would have sent somebody to guide that sort of total, like, oh, by the way, this whole thing has been wrong. Christianity's been completely wrong. Like, it's all corrupt, like absolute in some sense. And I know Mike doesn't think that, but like, I don't know. I'm still really, I think it's, the feast thing, there's some good arguments for it. I think it probably just doesn't matter. Because in a sense, I think because they were meant to point to what Christ would accomplish, and it's so precise in that way. I don't have that all worked out, but I see enough of it to see that that's clearly what's going on. I don't like if you're born out of that culture and after that, Jesus is completing them. Like that was their point. That was the purpose, and that was the feast was to point to Christ for those people. So like the fest, you know what I mean? Like, so I guess if you want to celebrate that, it's like makes sense or it's cool, but like to say they're like laws that are would still be like you're sinning if you don't keep it. Like, is it a sin to get doctrine wrong? I mean, kind of. I mean, so I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. Like, why would that be a sin? It's not something that like is evil in some sense. And that's probably not a good way to articulate it, but is what's obvious to me. Like people want to like say like, it doesn't matter. Well, if it's in the text, it matters. And God, it seems like there's a lot of details that seem to suggest the 10 Commandments are like this moral constitution. And then people want to quibble with me. Yeah, but you should lie to the Nazis. It's like, yeah, sure. But all things being equal, these are principles. It's not. I really think it's funny when Christians try to argue that way too. And I just think regarding the Sabbath, it just the fact that it's in the 10 Commandments and it was made for humans in creation at creation, and God made it holy by His own act of what He did. So it's still holy no matter what. And He used it as the sign of the covenant between Him and His people that made them understand that He is the Creator. That's what set them apart. And so you can't totally love God if you don't obey it like that. Recognize that aspect about God. Like, it doesn't really matter what day it is. Every day, it's like no. People overemphasize this rest idea. Like, well, Jesus is my rest. Well, yeah, He should be your rest, but you still should let your workers take a day off, and you should still acknowledge Him as Creator, like He told us to. But see, it seemed, and so in a sense, I would say all the laws still apply because you would still, in a sense, be keeping the festivals by recognizing Jesus' fulfillment of them. As long as you acknowledge that and understand that, you're in a sense you're keeping it. So those aren't like gone, even if you don't celebrate them. And then like the food laws, yeah, you ought to keep the food laws because God, that's His instructions on what to not eat, what is food, and then anything else. However, the principle or how it directly applies, the more you can directly do it like it says. But, recognizing that like God didn't give them something difficult because it was like He wanted to be hard on them. I think that He wanted everything. So in the sense, I'm saying like it is all still the same. Recognizing, cultural things. But like the thing with the 10 Commandments for me is like, it's like so obvious. It's like, to say they're done away with is just like nonsense. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. And people scoff because they say, well, I guess Jesus refrained from murdering, so I don't have to. I don't. The point is to show how absurd it is to think, oh, there's this little period in between the cross and when one of the apostles wrote their book for the Bible, which is probably just a letter in most cases. Like, oh, so you could murder in that between there until one of them mentions it in the narrative. It's like, dude, those are references to the law. Not because He has to reinstitute the law in the new covenant, but because that's God's ways. And so, anyway, if it helps clarify my thinking on that, where I'm at with it. I don't really think it's wrong, I guess, to keep the feasts, even, assuming, you understand. I mean, it's not wrong for Jews to keep the feast. They just need Jesus, that's all. Maybe it'll help them see it, but it seems like they won't, just from that, because they would have already. Has God failed? Well, He did unilaterally condemn Esau to hell forever before he was born or did anything bad. So can't be sure about anything, really. You never know. Oh, I see. It means his plan was in place before he was born, and it had nothing to do with it whether he was good or bad. Oh, so you're reassuring the interlocutor that God always meant for this to happen the way it has, and he knew all along how he was going to do it. That's what you're saying. Maybe. That's my interpretation, anyways. Don't bitch at God. He's doing what's the best thing to let his plan come to play.
No, this was salvation, but he was relating the story to this salvation, to this shackle.
Oh, you can hear that.
And he says,
I'm going to jog away in, CJ.
and when I heard this the second time, I didn't pick it up the first time. It's like, well, that's really confusing. What is getting on the boat?
This appointment may have solved that question for you. The feast. Well, door's still open. I can't do anything other than be sorry. And I've been trying to work on that for a long time. And so it's pretty pathetic that I have the issue, but I appreciate holding the principle. Yeah, I respect that. But if you the door's open. Although I am gonna have to get back to doing something today here on the foundation, but looks like it's starting to rain. I might pull up a Rebel if no one's coming in. That's fine. I don't know who's still here. It might just be CJ and Mike. If Mike's still here, he probably left. It's probably good for me that you don't let me think I can keep failing at my appointments and everything works out okay. It's probably best for me for that. Part of me is kind of wants to whine about it. Oh, dude, I said sorry. Come on, man. But that's just my inner child being in the bad way as a child. I mean, I'm being a child in a bad way. So I got to resist. I got to earn my salvation this way. I'm working really hard at it, man. What's up? Did you get a haircut? Or you just got a hat on?
How about that? A little shave, little hair pulled back. Put a little time into this appointment. How do I look? A little different?
Better than me.
Nah, you look fine. Where's my put my chair on my bed. Put all my scripture on the floor.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you can do it now.
Had my little chart already.
Oh, good.
Like I say, man, looking professional and everything. Just in case one of your friends wanted to watch too, who doesn't know anything about anything in the world. So it was that much work I did.
Well, come on,
and then I waited from 1 to 1:30, watching it tick on by, and then I said, "No, it's third time, bro. I can't do it." But no, there ain't no hard feelings. I still love you. I ain't even mad. I quite frankly had expectations of me.
How is that 3? How is that 3? That's 2. This would have been 3.
It's actually 4. There's once, what was it, last week we said you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, 11 o'clock Sunday, and then when you set up the appointment for the whatever thing, it was 1 o'clock, but we don't really count that. That's fine. But no, it was the week before that we definitely set something up on a Saturday night. I think it was after sundown, and you just had a regular thing. You completely forgot about me. You just had a regular, I don't know, we kind of sat around and talked. And but no, before that it was like, you know, hey man, we need to do this and that. And so maybe it was only 2, but I a lot of comments, gave you my phone number, a lot of no, not a lot of emails, maybe an email or 2. No, I just I see you're scatterbrained like me. You're like the absent-minded professor. I'll go put a burger on my, I'll go start to cook a burger, and I'll get up and walk out the door and go to Burger King. You know, I'll come back and the house is like smoky. You know, we gotta love, brother. We gotta love, but man, we're kind of scatterbrained. My mom used to call me the absent-minded professor. I get it. Maybe it's called ADD, ADHD. They called me hyper when I was little. They called it hyper. It wasn't even hyperactive. It was just like, oh, he's hyper. But no, since I have a lot of other character defects, I'm well aware of them, and I try to. I overcompensate. For instance, I'm irresponsible. So I overcompensate, and I really think on how a responsible person would do it, and then therefore I become responsible. But no, I'm just as scatterbrained as you are, brother. I ain't got no hard feelings or anger or nothing.
Yeah. Well, yep.
But yeah, I just wanted to show you real quick on the on the little bit of work that I set up, just to because I was so looking forward to this. But no, so I'll back out into that other chat, and I'll see how long you go here. And but no, we'll see you when you hook up next time or something, or whenever you, I don't know, start doing live again or something. I ain't gonna dog on you. But no, I don't have any trust in it, so I'm not gonna be stupid and try to